Imagine it's your first day at your university and you want to switch on the light of your classroom. There are 10 switches in a row, but you have no idea which switch is going to turn on the light. So you started switching all of them one by one. So basically you are doing the same kind of task repeatedly until you get the desired result. You may end up in the same situation while writing your code, and writing the same thing repeatedly is not feasible. So to deal with such situation, we have loop concept. We have two kinds of loops, while loop and for loop. We can create a while loop block using the while keyword followed by some condition. And we can create for loop block like this, where I is the iterator and range function is an iterable. We will discuss both the concept in details. And there is something very unusual thing happens inside the for loop of Python, which I will be discussing in this video, so watch till the end. First we will discuss about while loop. So for that I will initialize an integer variable x to 0. Then to create a while loop we will use while keyword followed by some condition. So in this case, while x is less than 5, the following block of code will be repeated. And after every iteration we will increment the value of x by 1, so that after few iterations the condition will become false, else you will end up in an infinite loop. In Python a block is written by giving indentation, so be careful about that. Now see the output. It has printed the statement written inside the loop for 5 times, and when the loop condition becomes false, the iteration process stops and continues with the rest of the code. At the beginning of this video, I have given you an example where you were trying to switch on the light by trying all the switches, and the bulb was turned on by very last switch. But it is possible that the bulb glows before trying all the switches. In that case, you will not try the rest of the switch. So to stop the iteration process in between, we have something called break statement. So to implement this, we will initialize our switch variable to 1. Then we will start our while loop with the condition that switch is less than or equal to 10, because in total there are 10 switches. Then we will keep printing all the switch number which is being tried. And when we reach the switch 6, we will print that bulb is on. Now we don't need to iterate anymore, so we will use break statement, and after every iteration we will increment the value of switch by 1. See the output. Even though our condition is true for while loop, but we can still break the loop. Unlike break statement, we have something called continue statement. To show an example of continue statement, I will initialize a variable x to 1. Then we will create a while loop as we did before. But this time we will set a condition that if the value of x is less than 5, continue the iteration process by ignoring everything written after the continue statement inside that loop. You can see the output. While the value was less than 5, the line which is written after the continue statement was not executed, even it was inside the loop. Now we will discuss about for loop. In Python, for loop works with two things. First one is iterator variable and the second one is iterable object. So in this example, I is an iterator which iterates over every element in the range from 0 up to 5, not including 5. And for now we will just print our value of I inside the for loop. So it has printed the value from 0 to 4 by iterating over each element in the given range. But if you want to execute some piece of code for certain number of times and you don't need any iterator variable, then you can use a throwaway variable which is an underscore. So you can see that print function has been executed for 5 times. You can also pass the third argument as the step size inside our range function. A step size basically means how many steps you want to jump after every iteration. So in this case it has printed the value in the range of 0 up to 6 by jumping 2 steps after every iteration. In the beginning I told you that something very unusual thing happened in the Python's for loop. So in order to show an example, I will create a for loop ranging from 0 up to 5. And inside that for loop, I will print the value of I, and after that I will assign the value 5 to the variable I. Think what will be the output. It should be 0, right? But it will still print from 0 to 4. Now let us test the same piece of code in other programming languages like C. This is how we write the for loop in C. Let's run it. See, it has printed only 0. Then what is the reason behind getting different output in Python? Actually, in Python, when we write for loop, we use the I as iterator, not as a variable. But when we use I inside the for loop, it becomes variable I. So no matter what you do with the variable I, it will never affect the iterator I. So be careful while you are using for loop in Python. And since iterator cannot be affected, you will never end up in an infinite for loop. But anyhow you want to create an infinite loop, then you can use cycle function from iterTool module of Python like this. This will keep on printing 0 to 4 in an infinite loop. Now there are few things I want you to know that in this video we talked about range function at very basic level. But this range function is lot more than that. So we will discuss about range function in generators video in detail. And one more thing, range function is not only the iterable object in Python. There are more data structures which can be used as an iterable object. We will discuss some of them in the next video. If you face any problem in code or want to ask something, then post your question in comment section below. Our next video will be on data structures. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then do subscribe it and hit the bell icon. And if you feel my videos are informative for you, then hit the like button as well.